I don't want to write this down. I want to tell you how I feel right now. I feel like that's how we should start every show because we don't want to write this down. We just want to tell you how we feel right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Shaun Q, my partner, like always.
Jay Roman.
Together, we are OSP, and we're going to jump right into some shit. We sorry we made you wait an extra week, but we got a lot of stuff to cover. Let's get right into it with what's popping. Here's what's popping. A man we speak of on occasion. I don't feel like we give him a lot of attention. We choose not to. But the man who's been known as, and I'm quoting, the ballsiest president in presidential history. The ballsiest, just the balls on this guy. Our commander-in-chief caught that Rona. He, to the surprise of no one, caught COVID-19.
Caught the Rona. I'm gonna throw some music in there.
Caught the Rona. Yeah, he caught that shit, and it was apparently he had it for a couple of days. He was diagnosed with it, and then continued to go about his business as usual, with his family to a rally, surrounded by a bunch of people in Air Force One, at fucking country clubs, just out there, just giving everybody the Rona, just coughing it up. Like he didn't give a shit about anybody.
I don't know if he did that.
He was full on shaking hands, coughing in it, spitting it, doing blood packs. I don't know what the fuck he does, but he wasn't covering his face.
Well, I mean, maybe he was grabbing pussies and kissing. You know what I mean?
Right?
Hey,
right? How did you transfer that Rona? I grabbed her right by the pussy. That sounds all right. That sounds accurate, Mr. President.
So, I mean, I gotta ask. I mean, is our president a super spreader? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, when I heard about it, I was like, okay, I felt like inevitable, especially when you see the pictures of all kinds of stuff going on at the what kind of started the snowball of cases getting announced that they were positive was the Supreme Court nomination event at the Rose Garden. So originally, as of last week, first couple of days, they said about 6 people from that event were sick. Now, the number is at 34 as of this recording. Close people to Trump, his aides, all that. 34 people. For people who don't understand how a virus spreads, those 34 people at some point went home to other people, and then it just poof, it can blow up from there, which is why we are the #1 nation in the world with cases, deaths, all that great stuff. So that's just one of those things. And then the president of Notre Dame caught it, and now the student council is asking for his resignation because he is a Trump follower, and they're like, your damn dumbass was there at the meeting, the event. You've been downplaying it too, supporting this guy. We want you out because you have put our safety in jeopardy. And it's like, come on, man. I understand, brave face, going out there thinking you're a badass. This is a virus. You know what I mean? And the idiots that came out, it reminds me of when Eazy died of HIV. And they're like, yeah, it just shows it's not a gay disease. Anyone can get it. Yeah, we already knew that. And then people coming out, it just shows that there's no party lines with this disease. Anyone can get it. Yeah. It's a disease, you dumbass. These are people in their 50s, 60s. Biggest issue is Trump from the get-go has been in the highest risk group. But yeah, he's still out there doing his thing. And they put him on these drugs. And here's the crazy thing. He's coming out, he's big and strong, he thinks he's badass. He has the best care in the world, man.
Yeah.
And they put him on this crazy steroid. I forget the name. I might have to look it up later. Apparently, one of the side effects is it makes you feel amazing. Like you did 20 years ago, right? And gives you like ideas of grandiose or whatever that's called, And so he's out there doing this thing, and it's the steroid that's kind of fueling it. But it's kind of like, wait, so has he been on the steroid this whole time? Because that's how he's always acted. It's bananas, man.
There's one person on the planet that doesn't need an ego boost. It's Donald J. Trump. This dude gets this, like he starts tweeting out. He goes, yeah, I caught it, but thanks to the drugs I got under my administration, thanks to the treatment that I got, which wouldn't have been possible without my administration. I feel great. Everything's gonna be fine. There's gonna be a cure out there because of my administration. So I'm gonna beat it. So all these people who are losing family and losing lives are like, you inconsiderate fuck. Yeah. How dare you treat this disease like it's nothing, like you just brushed it off. Like, oh, yeah. I was in the hospital for 3 days, but I wasn't really sick. It didn't do shit to me. I was in there. I was doing push-ups. I was doing sit-ups. I was taking care of me. Shut the fuck up, man. You're just spitting in the face to people who have lost family and lost friends. It's just like a spit in their face. And it's just, I don't know, man. This dude is on some other shit. The thing that bothers me about that is, and we said this would happen, is it happened during an election year, and Joe Biden has decided to take the upper ground. He's decided
the high
to
road,
the higher ground, and be the bigger man, and say he removed all his negative campaigns about this man. And he's like, I don't want to jump on a sick man and take advantage. Whereas Trump is like, well, I'm sick, but I can still talk some shit.
So, they specifically said they're not going to stop the attacking ads. I'm like, all right.
And that's just not. Oh, that's just so unfair. It's such bullshit. I mean, because for Biden, it's lose-lose. If you attack a sick man, they're like, oh, you took advantage of a sick man. If you don't, then they take advantage of you. So it's like a double-edged sword. Like, the high ground doesn't work anymore. The reason why we have the president we have is because the other opponent tried to take the high ground. You can't take the high ground against this dude. You can't. You have to sink to his level, and you got to out-talk him. You got to tell him to shut up. Like, and we'll get into that later. That's the only way to do it, man. Otherwise, the people won't think you're just the ballsiest candidate that we need. We just need a ballsy candidate.
You know who's a ballsy candidate, but he didn't make it? Tom Steyer. That guy's a ballsy candidate. All these other guys are ballsy candidates. Pete Buttigieg is a ballsy candidate. The man is gay, of a major town. And he tried to run for president. He didn't make it very far, but hey, you know what? He put his hat in there. Like, that's balls. So
you need balls and money and the backing of your party in order to get to this level where they're at right now. And so we'll see what happens with Mr. Biden and our ballsy orange president.
So did you see what Twitter put out and what Facebook said about possible tweets that they might get because of towards Trump because of the sickness, whatever?
You mean like the death to Trump tweets and the good I hope he fucking dies tweets and the karma's a son of a bitch tweets, like all those? I've seen a couple.
Twitter said they will not allow any death wishes upon Trump, right? So, which is ridiculous because we know that's already happened in other ways. And then Facebook said you can say what you want, just don't tag him in it. So I'm like, wait, so we all know who people are going to be talking about. So they just don't tag them, but they say everything else they need to. That's okay.
So basically you could be like, I hope you die in hell, Donald Trump. You just can't put at Donald J. Trump. That's what they're saying.
Exactly.
You can say his name. You can say the president of the United States of America. You can call him POTUS. Just don't put his fucking handle and tag him and you'll be good. Which makes more sense. Twitter is on some bullshit because all the women that Trump hated on that are in Congress, that are in the Senate, and they got all these fucking death wishes. Twitter didn't stop them from getting death wishes.
Yeah.
If you send it to them, we're gonna shut your account down. But when Donald Trump does it, wait. Be easy, you guys. He's got the virus, you guys. Take it easy on him.
It's just another inequality, another disparity between rich white man and not so rich brown woman.
And not so rich anybody else.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So
unreal.
We wanted to bring this up. Last episode we kind of mentioned it. We said we wanted to wait till we got more information. Unfortunately, 2 sheriff deputies were shot in Compton. Everybody should know this story by now if you live in America. There were 2 sheriff's deputies who were in their SUV minding their own business, and a man walked up while they were in the car, pulled a pistol out, and just shot unloaded bullets on them. Shot them. They weren't armed. They weren't prepared for it. They couldn't block or anything. He shot them. He took the fuck off. And it's been a huge deal. And unfortunately, you and I have said before on here that with all these innocent lives being taken and attacked by the police, somebody's going to retaliate. At no point in time did we condone it, but we knew it would happen. And this is a form of retaliation. Now, it is, we like I said, we don't condone it. We knew it would happen. People handle pain differently. And if you're hurting, some people get upset, some people get sad, some people get angry, some people believe in eye for an eye, others believe in turning the other cheek. And I believe this man was on his eye for an eye type shit. Like, how many innocent people have to die until you do something? Now, we don't know the history of these 2 sheriffs. We don't know if they had anything to do with anything at any point. We just know that at this point in time, they weren't doing anything. We don't know their history, and they got shot, and they survived. In fact, there's a video out of the female officer. She was a OG. Like, she got the other officer out, got him to a safe place, and she got shot in the face, right?
Yeah.
So real badass shit. And unfortunately, it sparked the We've been referring to them as the other side. A lot of people from the other side who are so pro Blue Lives Matter and they don't believe in Black Lives Matter. It's Blue Lives. It's
Mm-hmm.
Smurf lives. It's Avatar lives. They
Yeah.
have lost their shit to where they're like, if we don't get some kind of justice for this, then what? If you don't get justice for this, then what?
Yeah.
Because we are still waiting for justice for Breonna Taylor. We're waiting for
Mm-hmm.
justice for tons of innocent lives that have been
Mm-hmm.
taken and altered and changed and ruined and attacked. So what if you don't get justice? Then what happens? What
Yeah.
makes this different from the innocent killings done by officers, the
Mm-hmm.
innocent attacks done by officers? What makes this different? Yes, were they unarmed? Yes. Were they unprepared? Yes. Was it unprovoked? Yeah, probably. Is it fucked up and shitty and sad? Absolutely. Should it
Yeah.
happen? Absolutely not. But it happened. So now
Mm-hmm.
what? What do we do now?
Yeah.
That's where we're at in this conversation. And you mentioned something about the sheriff. The sheriff of
Yeah. So, Sheriff Villanueva. All right. I'm not good at that long Spanish word. I'm only good at the short Spanish word. So, Villanueva, he challenged LeBron James to match the reward that they put out for the cop shooter. You know, and which is just absolutely ridiculous because we already know what LeBron does put in the community. He pays for people to go to college. He's paying for towns to rise themselves up, entire places, so that maybe the need for a sheriff anywhere in that community isn't as necessary because maybe they can be part of the rising up of the community versus keeping them down. So you do some bullshit like that, and when you look at this guy's record, now here's a little brief history. I don't know his full on record, but he's the first sheriff to get elected in after kicking the last one out in 100 years. So in the last elections, he got elected in, and that's the first time they elected out a sheriff in 100 years apparently. So it was a really big deal. But since he got in, this guy's record has not been cool. He's doing a lot of crazy shit that when you get power, you do these things that you try to get away with, and then they don't quite work out, but you keep trying. I mean, he's in big trouble with a whole bunch of different things. Has he done some good? Yeah. Probably has he investigated some cops who were bad? Yeah, probably he's done a few things like that, and we're not going to see that side because they want to sensationalize all the negative. And okay, great. But when you challenge this man who is someone who tries to uplift the cities he's in and is the, top 5 biggest star in the world across sports, to pull that kind of bullshit is just kind of just ridiculous. What is you trying to accomplish? You know what I mean? And then Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's wife or widow, calls him out like, what kind of bullshit are you trying to pull? Your department leaked photos of my dead daughter and husband. But yet you want to challenge LeBron. Why don't you get your shit under wraps first and then try and come out and say some nonsense like that? You know what I mean? So it's just kind of, it's kind of one of those things like you coming out your ass, man. It was great that you got yourself put in, but now you're pulling some stuff that, you're just as bad as the last guy. So you're about to be out probably the next time. You know what I mean? And then it'll be twice in 100 years this happened. So it's kind of crazy.
In Hollywood, and he's turning Hollywood. That's what happens with most people in Hollywood. And for you to call out the guy who brings a lot of money to your city, for you to call out a guy, not even to call him out. I'm not saying you can never challenge LeBron. What I'm saying is if LeBron James had paid for the lawyers for all the innocent lives that he talks about, when he's talking about we need justice for this, then it's one thing to be like, look, if you want to put up money for those lawyers, why don't you put up reward money for these? Like, that's one thing. But he didn't do that. LeBron ain't paying for nobody's lawyers. He didn't give a bunch of money to all these families because he can't afford it. Rich ass LeBron would go broke paying for law counsel for all the innocent black lives that have been attacked and lost. So why are you gonna ask this man for money? That makes no fucking sense. It's not a smart move on his part, and it's gonna come back and bite him in the ass.
Yeah, definitely. And again, you had LeBron fighting for a lot of other things that are really uplifting communities and trying to make a difference. I mean, the Staples Center right now is a voting center because LeBron stepped in and wanted something like that, along with a lot of others who pushed for these things because we're not using the Staples Center. It's a big-ass empty building right now, just sitting, collecting no revenue. You know what I mean? So, so we turn into something like that. Like, that's a good change. That's what you want. Putting money up for this kind of stuff, you don't need that. You have that. You know why you have that? Because there's already a huge fund of millions of dollars that goes out to paying settlements by the cops. Chicago right now, they said it the other day, something like $700 million in police brutality payouts, police misconduct payouts over the last few years. $700 million. That's something like, they said 4 or 5 times their actual budget for that thing, for police brutality payouts. That's Chicago. That's not LA. But if we look into LA, there's a few $100 million in there too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of crazy because we talked about the Breonna Taylor settlement. They got 12 mil. Wrapped up in that 12 mil, there's a lot of reform. But now we have the thing of the cops are not getting any charges. You know what I mean? And that sparked new protests. And unfortunately sparked new shootings. 2 more cops shot in Louisville, right? In Louisville, doing those new protests. You know, and here's one thing we want to make very clear. We don't condone the violence. We were just trying to tell you it's on the way. You know what I mean? The leaders of BLM, the leaders of Black Lives Matter, do not condone the violence. They are actually all against it. They've all come out and said, we don't support the violence of this at all. They're trying to be peaceful about it all. They're trying to be conscious about their efforts and everything they're trying to do. So when this kind of, you get this little bit of a setback, it's one of those things like, well, we kind of warned you.
Right.
We didn't tell you what was going to happen for sure because we don't know, but we kind of warned you. You can only get slapped in the face so many times before it becomes rage, before it becomes revenge. How many times does society, the same people you keep trying to oppress, have to tell you these things? You know what I mean? Before you get it. It doesn't,
So
like, come on.
They put the recordings out of the Breonna Taylor case, and apparently the attorney general said he didn't think the cops did anything criminal.
Yeah.
Now these cops apparently, like, they shot into the house. They shot, some bullets went upstairs where the black neighbors were. Some bullets went next door where the white neighbors were. And there was justice for the walls of the white neighbors. Apparently when they shot into the house where the white neighbors were, that they were wrong in doing that. So they got
and that
penalized.
cop, yep.
Yeah.
That cop got charges for that. Like, what?
Yeah, not for murdering a woman, not for shooting upstairs where the black people were, but for affecting the white walls of the white people next door. That he got charged for. And that sums up America right now.
The white walls matter, man.
White walls matter, apparently. Yeah, that's going to hashtag everywhere. While we're staying on what's happening in these streets, we mentioned a piece of shit a couple episodes ago. Kyle Rittenhouse, who we will continue to refer to as a piece of shit, was the 17-year-old boy who decided to take it upon himself to go to these protests outside of where he lives and decided, I am going to take my assault rifle up and down the streets and, you know, I'll patrol the streets. I'll do it myself. He went full vigilante. I'll do it myself. And now this is fucking insane to me. It is, there's a group, they are known as the Friends of the Rittenhouse family, who have gotten money from the hashtag Fight Back Foundation. And they have raised over $2.5 million for this boy's defense. $2.5 million. Now, one of these people that are sponsoring this is a fundraising group. They are known as Give, Send, Go. It's the #1 free Christian crowdfunding site. They've raised $500,000 for the Friends of the Rittenhouse family. Now, the statement they put out, mind you, this kid walked through the streets with an AR-15 rifle on him, and then he murdered 2 people. He murdered 2 people and
shot others.
And shot others. Murdered 2 people. They are saying, I could do this. They're blaming Joe Biden and the Democrats, saying, you guys gave this kid hope, saying no kid should have to go protect other businesses. It's not his job to have to go protect these businesses, but out of the kindness of his heart, he did that. He didn't want to see these looters and rioters burn these businesses to the ground, so he took it upon himself to fight for justice, and that's why he should be set free. And I can't. My tongue hurts because I can feel the bullshit coming out of my mouth.
Does it taste good? Because it sounds awful.
The fact that somebody can say this, he took it upon himself, but he was just defending those businesses, and he shouldn't have to. So they're suing Joe Biden because Joe Biden, in part of one of his campaigns, they were talking about how we have to stop white supremacy. And they posted a picture of him in one of those. Now, I didn't say he was a white supremacist, but he was in the video. So they're trying to sue him for that. They're trying to get as much money as they can and get this poor young 17-year-old, good old-fashioned white all-American boy out of jail. He doesn't belong behind bars. He's a good boy. Remember there was a picture of him painting. Remember he was painting graffiti? It doesn't matter. He did a little murder. Come on. That's what the fuck white America sounds like right now. And that's what's happening. So right now his case is still pending. I don't know where it's gonna go. I promise you, I intend to follow it and see how
Yeah.
this ends, because this is gonna be a very, very, very important OJ level case.
Oh.
Especially after, I mean, tensions are rising to the point where this case could be the tipping point.
Mm. Like
If
we're not
Kyle
already there, you
Rittenhouse,
know?
oof, right? And we'll say this again, like we've been saying before, there will be retaliation. If Kyle Rittenhouse goes home after murdering two people and injuring others, all hell will break loose. We're not telling you that we're the ones doing it. We're not saying we condone it. We're just saying, once again, it's gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
Pay
Yeah.
attention to this case, folks. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a big one. It's very important.
See, that's driving me bananas, man, because I think I told you, I don't know if I said it last time. I know I said, yo, this kid's trash. Burn in hell, man. Rot in jail. All that stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't want to follow this story because it's one of those things that just really shows the disparity because, again, how was he taken into custody? Peacefully,
He
right?
turned himself in. Yeah, he turned himself in.
And alive, he was allowed to go home that night and then turn himself in or
Oh,
whatever it
yeah,
was,
no,
right?
yeah, no.
So,
He shot some people. He walked by the police. He
yep,
went home
he
and
waved
fled.
at them.
Yeah.
So he got taken alive
Mm-hmm.
with an assault rifle after murdering a couple people.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, what is it in the last few months? A couple dozen black people who were either sleeping, maybe had a $20 bill, were running, multiple running, being terrorized, and they are all dead, or in Jacob Blake's case, possibly paralyzed, and they were all unarmed. One had a taser as he was running away. I remember that.
Yeah.
They're dead. They didn't have weapons. They didn't have guns. They weren't walking around with assault rifles and killing people, but they are dead now. And this has happened over and over again with the kid who shot up the church, all kinds of other people. These people are taken into custody peacefully, but yet they've just killed people and they have assault rifles. If that doesn't show you the inequality and disparity of how differently they treat black people versus white people, I don't know what else to tell you about it, because it's just absolutely insane. The fact that there are groups out there that are building money for this kid, talking about he shouldn't have to do this. You know what? You're right. He shouldn't have had to do that because he didn't have to. It is the law, if you own a business, that you have business insurance. Your business insurance is going to cover that. And if it doesn't, get your ass a good lawyer because they should cover it. Okay? Nobody needs to go and defend these businesses. Okay? If they need to burn because people get out of the way, what are you going to do about it? You're not the firefighters putting the fire down. You're not the police trying to protect it. You're a 17-year-old kid who's not even in your own state, not even in your own city, not even your own town, not even your own street. You don't know these people. You went and shot strangers in a different state. Like that, bananas. And a Christian organization is fighting for this kid's defense. I understand, okay, you're a Christian, everyone deserves forgiveness and all that. But come on, man. These same Christians probably support Trump, and he has nothing to do with their religion. And in fact, he spits on their religion. Like, come on, man.
These
Like,
Christians
get out of here with that.
are apparently, there's parts of the Bible they're missing some commandments about thou shalt not kill. I guess they didn't hear that part. I guess they skimmed through that part. They don't worry about that commandment. You can kill somebody, we got you. We'll raise some money to get you out of jail.
Where's the funds for these families? Where's the funds for these families losing their loved ones who were sleeping?
Right.
I know the city paid those out. Oh, that's why you didn't get involved, because the city paid those out. You know what I mean? So
just like the city, the kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, should have left it in the city's hands. If this dude gets off, that means they are promoting vigilantism. They are the one thing that police are supposed to say, like, we don't promote vigilantes. We don't want anybody taking it upon themselves. Why is this kid different? The police should be coming out saying we don't condone or think it's okay for a kid to come from anywhere with a gun in his hand and patrol the streets like he's fucking the Punisher and get away with it. He should be penalized. The police should be on the side of justice in that if he had stayed in his state and let them deal with it, let the police do what you expect the police to do. Let them do their jobs. It's not your fucking job to do that. He should be treated as a murderous vigilante. Because that's what the fuck he is.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
Let's move on from this piece of shit.
Oh my gosh,
Let's move on from this shit. Since we last recorded, we have lost a couple of legends in their industry and in history. Actually, the first one we'll get into is we lost the notorious RBG. We lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I've been reading articles about her, and this woman not only fought for women's rights and civil rights, she fought for equality
Yeah.
through the justice system for over 60 years, which
Mm,
is a
mm,
long
mm,
time to be fighting for some shit.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And she not only was the best at what she did, but you're talking about somebody who lasted through presidents, through generations of leaders. She's watched rights go from no rights to some rights to more rights to a little bit of rights, and she's fought the whole way. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It's if you have any time, read any article on what this woman's done for America and for women's rights and for equality in general. It'll blow your mind that this one person who battled cancer for the last like 10 years of her life, like
Crazy shit.
she had multiple forms of cancer and was
Yeah.
battling to like her last day,
Yeah.
battling like
Yeah.
we need this, we need justice for this, we need rights. It's
Uh-huh.
crazy. Like it's fucking 2020, bro. Like this year,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I know, right? Another notch in the belt of 2020.
Huh.
RBG was revolutionary, man. And you know the crazy thing is when people started calling her RBG like a big thing, I didn't know is because she was also from Brooklyn. Because RBG to me, and this made me look her up a little bit more. RBG for me came from Dead Press, revolutionary but gangsta.
Right.
Also red, blue, green,
Right.
red, black, and green for the African flag. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, this is interesting. They're calling her RBG, but people who did that, I don't think knew what I knew what RBG meant for me. So I'm like, okay. And it turns out, like, yo, this lady was exactly that. She was revolutionary, but gangster because she went at these cats. You know what I mean? And when they made a decision that she did not like and she thought was actually kind of backwards, she wrote very dissenting letters. You know what I mean? That were just like how she felt about it and why. And this is why this is going to set up the future for this. And that. It's mind-boggling the amount of work this lady put in. And when we talk about cancer survivor, we've seen the videos of her working out and stuff like that. Yo, she would do treatments all week, right? But especially she'd get a treatment, you know, like whatever treatment that would exhaust her, I guess, the most on Friday, so that she was good to go on Monday. You know what I mean? And then she was unlike the president who was staging those photos of him in the hospital with a pen and a Sharpie on a blank piece of paper. She was actually working during this time. The woman had cancer, like you said, multiple forms. And I remember earlier in the year, we were talking about, you know, this vote is not just for the vote of the president. This vote is for RBG. She's got to make it for us so that we can get there. And then I thought she was going to be, you know, able to hold on till the election, and then bam, we could get someone else. You know, once you saw that, you know, hopefully we win and stuff like that. And then she's like, okay, I'm good. But unfortunately, she left before that. And the legacy is insane. And now they're possibly putting in a young lady who is, if I correct, 48, and which means she could be on the bench if she lasts as long as RBG, 40 years. She's, you know, about half the age of RBG. She could be on 40 years creating policy, which means she could set shit up that will, you know, do things to our country for decades and even centuries to come, because, you know, they go through constitutional things and approve and disapprove and stuff like that. And it's kind of nuts that you have one lady who was really pushing for the right, who for women to vote and be equal and stuff like that, which actually still technically, it is not a constitutional right for women's equality around the nation. Yes, they ratified that amendment, but it has not been put in yet. And you could best believe the Trump administration is not trying to hear it. So to then go to this young lady who actually has written about anti-abortion and written about how she doesn't agree with Roe versus Wade and all that stuff, and written scathing letters about being against Obamacare and all that. She's going to try and dismantle things if she gets put in, you know, and they're trying to rush this. And then, of course, the Republicans are showing their hypocritical asses. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about? You can have an election of a Supreme Court justice right now. Let's say the date here. Today is October 7th. We are less than a month away from election time. There are already millions, 3-point-something million votes out there. And they may put a Supreme Court on there before the election night. And that's insane, because just 4 years ago, when Obama had 9 months to get a Supreme Court justice in, oh, no, we can't do it. And I'm doing the Mitch McConnell, so I'm going to give myself a little turkey neck. Oh, no, we can't do it. So it's an election year. We can't do this here, blah, 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 blah. You know, and it's like, what kind of bullshit are you smoking, man? Because now you're about to rush it. So you created the precedent. And what's his face? Lindsey Graham and his bullshit ass used us against me. And he said more than once, of course, use us against me. We will not predict. We will not pick a justice in an election year. You know what I mean? And it's like now it's coming back, and it's just coming back over and over. So it's one of those things for me. It's like, what is it going to take for you people to understand these people aren't for you? They're not. They completely are turning their backs on their own thing they set. And I thought we had Mitt Romney on our side, man. At least a little bit. I don't agree with this guy. You know, his whole thing. I appreciate he goes based off moral things, which is nice. I get that. And like real moral things, not like, you know, Trump says he does. You know, real things like that are, you know, right and wrong to a lot of people. And he says, oh, we're going to, if a vote hits the floor, I'm voting. Based on the constitutional and party's precedents, that has the historical precedent. And it's like, there is no historical precedent, asshole. All right. You guys set the precedent 4 years ago, and now you're breaking it. Now you're turning your whole back on it. So it just kind of shows me again, if they want, they'll turn their back on you. And it's just a power grab. It's a greed move. It's like, oh, it works for me now, so I'm going to take advantage. You know, it's like, it drives me bananas. How do people vote for these guys? How do they vote for these guys?
You know, I don't really fuck with politics. I don't really fuck with Republicans or Democrats. But I can say this just off a respect standpoint. You were talking about a woman who has served her country for 60 plus years, who in her last, like one of her dying wishes was that they please don't replace me until after the election. No. This came from her. She said, please don't replace me until after the election. Why would you not honor the wishes of this dying woman who served her country for so many years? Like that to me, regardless of Republican, Democrat, who you're trying to get in to get your power, that's just blatant disrespect for me. Yeah. Like, why would you do that? Just honor her wishes. If you want to get your person in there, get him in, but wait till after the election and see if you can do it the right way. To try to rush it, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Insane, it's a bullshit move, and I'm not a fan of it. I don't fuck with it. We also lost another legend in rock star Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen just passed away. 20, bro. God, this year is trash, man.
And another cancer. John Lewis, RBG, Van Halen, all the cancer.
Chadwick Boseman.
Goodness gracious, man. Come on, you know?
Yeah.
Cancer touches us all, man.
Cancer. 2020 is a fucking cancer. That's what it is.
2020 itself, you're right. Cancer is a bitch, man, and cancer affects us all. I did not know I would have so many people in my life affected by cancer, whether they had it or someone close to them had it. It's just quite amazing that it does. We seem to have no hold on it. Treatment after treatment, people are still going left and right because of it. You know, Van Halen was huge. You know what I mean? He changed guitaring, or is that what we call it? He changed how to use guitar for generations. You know, and I heard a fun story today. Did you know he's the riff on Beat It? You may have known this because you're more a music guy. So what I didn't know was he actually got no money off that. Zero money, because he did it kind of in secret. Right. So a lot of people didn't know he was on there because he wasn't supposed to be, because apparently, and he said it himself, that there was an agreement within the group. You don't do outside pieces or whatever. So his joke was no one was around to ask because they were all somewhere else doing something at the time. No one was in town. So he did it. And it was actually supposed to be someone from, oh man, who was it? Someone from The Who. The guy from The Who was supposed to be him. Originally, that guy said no, so Van Halen came in and did it and got no money and kind of did it in secret. And that's a pretty dope story for someone who was considered probably, I think, a top 2 or 3 guitarist all time, because he changed it very much like Jimi Hendrix did. He made it a whole new thing.
Van Halen dying is fucking. I feel like every industry and every community is being hit by cancer and 2020. Because it's the entertainment industry, it's the music industry, it's politics, it's everybody, every industry, civil rights, everybody's getting hit somewhere or another. So it's showing its face. Like, cancer is not giving a fuck who you are, what you've done, how much money you have. It can hit anybody. So it's sad we lost another legend. Before we go to a quick commercial, I wanted to do a quick shout out. There's a war that was happening back in the early 90s that has been kind of brewing, that has resurfaced, and it's between Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is how I've
Azerbaijan.
heard
I
it
know I
pronounced.
keep always saying Azerbaijan.
It's not an easy word.
And tons of people have already lost their lives in this war,
Yeah.
and it's going to grow. And Turkey is already getting involved. Russia's about to get involved at some point in time. Believe it or not, our country's probably going to get involved. And it sucks. I don't know any Azerbaijanis, but I do know a few Armenians out here. So thoughts and prayers go to everybody who's losing lives in this war. War is hell, and nobody wins at the end of it.
So a little thing on that is that, being that you bring that up. So I think it was a year ago. LA acknowledged the genocide of Armenia for the first time. Like a major city acknowledged it. Right? They made it like Armenia Day or something like that. So now they've actually declared that day a holiday for Armenians. It's like a religious holiday. Basically, they don't have to go to work or whatever. They can take that day off because it's such atrocities that's happening. And unfortunately, like it doesn't get talked about enough. It's another area of genocide in our world where it's like, how is this even a thing that you think your tribe or whatever it is better than that tribe for whatever crazy reason? And it's nuts, man. Yeah, thoughts and prayers for sure. I don't know all the story. There's so much into it, so much history.
It is.
That
And
we'd have to get like a guest for that one.
at the root of it, they're fighting over a piece of land. A mountainous piece of land is what they're
Yeah.
fighting over.
Yeah.
And in my decision, if everything gets blown to shit, what is that land worth? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's rough. So thoughts and prayers to them. We're gonna take a quick break. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. We'll be right back. We are back up in the place to be. It's me, Shaun Q. I got nothing. Welcome back.
You were going.
Right. I was about to get on it. We're back. We were chopping up about a few things. We're gonna get right into something. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but apparently, two people who, you and I personally have had this conversation. There was an episode of NBA on TNT where, Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal decided to take it upon themselves to speak out on the results of the Breonna Taylor case. And Charles Barkley said something, I'm going to quote it, so I don't misquote this man. He said, that notion that people keep saying, he said, he was like, who are black people supposed to call? Ghostbusters when we have crime in our neighborhoods? He said, we need police reform. But like I said, white people, and especially rich white people, they're always going to have cops. So we need to stop that defund and abolish the cops crap. That's what he called it. He called the phrasing of defunding the police crap because he doesn't fucking understand it. And of course, anytime you talk about anything that has to do with cops, fucking Uncle Tom ass Shaq, Officer O'Neal, jumps on board with whatever the cops do. In Shaq's eyes, the cops can do no wrong because he's the worst cop in the fucking world. He's the worst deputy, volunteer, sign on, Barney Fife ass cop out there. So he jumps on board with whatever the cops do. But I'm watching this, and I'm watching him saying, like, you can't put – he was trying to speak on, with Breonna Taylor, the police did their jobs, and, they apparently they knocked, and, they did their jobs, and it's unfortunate she got shot, but you can't put that in the same vein with George Floyd. And absolutely you can, Charles. An innocent person got shot, and an innocent person got killed by the police. How is that not the same vein? How is that not the same conversation? The fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? And then Shaq is like, I agree with you wholeheartedly because, the police are the greatest and I'm the greatest and Shaq's the greatest. So I'm going to say this to you. Shout out to Kenny Smith because I remember when the NBA players decided they wanted to boycott and they didn't want to entertain you on this day because they were hurting. Kenny Smith was like, I'm with him. I'm on board. He took his mic off. He got up. He walked out. Shaq and Chuck sat there and continued like, we're just going to go business as usual, even though there's no game for them to talk about. There's nothing for them to comment on. They decided to sit there and stay. So I want to say this to the people, mainly minorities who are fans of Shaq and Chuck. You may be a fan of their basketball career, but remember these moves. Don't forget these moves. Don't forget when the players were like, yo, we need to boycott. We have to do something. Shaq and Chuck wasn't with you. When these two rich motherfuckers talk about what happens to black people, they don't do it from the perspective of middle to lower class minorities. These are rich black motherfuckers who have not had to struggle for a long fucking time. They don't understand the struggle. They can't speak on your struggle. They can't say, well, the street said. How the fuck do you know what the streets say? When's the last time you were in the streets? You're not. You haven't been. Charles is out there working on his golf game, and Shaq is Uncle Tom it up with Papa John selling pizza. Neither of these niggas have been in the streets. They don't know what the people are feeling, so they should not speak for or represent the people.
Yeah.
I feel like both Chuck and mainly Shaq have gotten on that OJ level of fame to where they feel like, I'm not black, I'm OJ. I'm not black, I'm Shaq. I'm bigger than what black is. I'm better than that. I've far exceeded what just black is. No. I'm greatness. And that's ridiculous. And it happens to a lot of our people. We need to keep an eye on this shit. I'm telling you, pay attention to these certain motherfuckers. I understand, like Charles Barkley as a player.
Oh, man. So what sucks about this, it kind of hurts. It stings a little bit because Shaq and Barkley have been two of my top 5 players all time. Now, I'm not saying I'd put Shaq in my top 5 team because I'm sorry, Barkley. Shaq, I would. You already know that. We established that way back. But as players, phenomenal. As people, I kind of expected that from Chuck because he's always been like, don't look at me as the role model. I do what I do. You do what you do. Leave it at that. So I don't expect him to be with anybody or for anybody because he's never shown that he is. Shaq has kind of always been like a person of the people, right? So not to say that we know how these guys came up in whatever hoods or wherever they came from and that they didn't struggle at that point. But like you were saying, they are so far disconnected from it that they shouldn't speak on it now, especially if they don't have anything to say to support the people. Shaq has a brand new house, and I'm not sure how brand new it is actually, but he has a giant super mansion / yacht and all that in Anaheim, okay, in Disneyheim. So those who don't know, Shaq has a house in Anaheim. So, up in some hills that you'll never be able to get to, right? So when it comes to that kind of thing, rich people always want police. Yes. You know why? Because when you have haves and have-nots and you need to separate them, and you have to, because have-nots always want to get what the haves do or have because they want more of it, because they need it, then you need police. So I get what you're saying, but you also live in gated communities most likely. You know what I mean? You also live in areas that no one's going to. You know what I mean? And you have the most updated alarm systems. You have all the best things you could ever want in your life, but yet these people who are struggling, and you see them still struggling. And I don't know what they're doing charity-wise, fun, whatever community work they're doing. Maybe they need to announce it to kind of like prove to me that they, as human beings, give a shit, because it really kind of hurts that two of my favorite players all time. And I've always actually kind of respected Barkley's view on like, you know what, don't use me as an example. I get that because he knows himself. But then when you come out with this bullshit and you talk about, well, I think it was the perfect call or whatever the hell you want to say about it, it's like you're completely off on where the vibe is right now, man. So you shouldn't even comment because you're not one of the people who are hurting by this, and you're showing you don't care about that kind of shit. So don't speak. And the fact that you're saying Kenny Smith, I respect Kenny Smith tremendously. I remember when I saw him and he's like, and he gets up and he just, his face is just like, it's sad, man. There's sadness and all that in his whole demeanor. And he's like, I can't do this, man. He takes it all off and he walks away. And they just kind of look at him like, all right, and it's like, all right, exactly. So that's how now I look at you. Shaq and Barkley, all right. Which is also, I don't listen to their dumbasses anyway when they commentate because they suck. So I'm not even thinking about that. But it's just, it sucks when people you admire so much show that they could give a crap about you. You know what I mean? And granted, you made it. You did your thing because you were one of the best at doing what you do. You got paid. Great. Continue to do that. But, don't even speak on it, man, because you're so disconnected. No one wants to hear your bitch ass. All right? So shut up.
My beef I have, my conversation I would like to have with the other side is these same people who, when they went on boycott, who were like, I'm never watching NBA again. I don't give a shit what they do. Why don't you just go out there and entertain me? Dribble the ball, monkey. I don't give a shit about your opinion. But now when these two dumbasses say something, you put it all over your Facebook, all over your social media, like, oh, finally, some of those athletes get it. They finally fucking made the fucking. That's the fuck you sound like. No, the fuck they don't. Charles Barkley is promoting ignorance when he thinks defunding the police means getting rid of all police. That is ignorance. That's stupid. Defunding the police means reallocating funds. Instead of taking the billions of dollars that you put into law enforcement, we allocate some of that money. For example, I live in Fullerton, and the Fullerton Police Department has a fucking tank. The Fullerton Police Department does not need a fucking tank.
A functional tank?
A functional tank. You don't need a tank for any reason at all. We allocate that money. That's what they mean, Charles. And as far as Shaq, I mean, this dude, Shaq's been rich since his first year of college. That means he had more longer than he has not. Therefore, he is far removed from what it's like to. Also, if you have any story about Shaq or Chuck getting pulled over since they've been rich by the cops and it went bad, by all means, send that shit to me because it don't happen to them. They can't speak on what happened. They don't have that fear of if I get pulled over by a cop, something bad could happen because they're not black. They're Chuck and Shaq. Oh no, all the cops know me. I'm Charles Barkley. Everybody know I'm Shaquille O'Neal. I'm a cop. Cops wouldn't do anything to me. I'm a cop. That's your mentality. Speak from that mentality and see how long you stay on fucking TV. Keep speaking from the side of I'm not black. I'm better than black. I'm greater than that, and see how long your ass stays on TV. Shout out to Kenny Smith. Fuck Charles Barkley and fuck Shaquille O'Neal. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In sports, let's get to a more positive note in the basketball community, and that is that his airness, he's showing up just like in game time. Michael Jordan is showing up when you want him to. In every game that Jordan played, when you needed him to be clutch, this dude was clutch. And right now, we are going through some racial shit. I'm sorry, these motherfuckers got me flustered in our country. And Michael Jordan is showing up. Michael Jordan has decided to buy a NASCAR team, and he wants Bubba Wallace to be his first driver. And that, to me, is a huge move in that community, in any community. That is putting your money where your mouth is. If people are like, well, why don't you promote black? Okay, I got an idea. Let's take a sport that's dominated by Caucasians and insert a black owner and take a black driver and move forward with that. Shout out to Michael Jordan. I like that shit.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Like, Jordan is making me a fan of him long after his career because I've said it before. I hated Jordan, but it was because he was so good and he was cocky about it when he did his thing. But I've always had a ton of respect. I know the man is the greatest thing to ever hit the court. I've seen it. I watched it. You know what I mean? I watched him beat everybody. Post-career, he's doing it for me like Kobe did. We all know most people know I didn't like Kobe after a certain spot when he tried to do non-basketball things that got him in a lot of trouble. I was like, you know what? That's ridiculous. I'm going to move on. But I loved him. But post-career, the things that these guys have been doing post-career have made me fans of them as human beings. You know what I mean? So whereas like Shaq and Barkley are going further in my distance away from me, like as people I appreciate as humans, Jordan is now at the forefront. Like, yo, this man is really trying to do some real shit, and he's putting his money where his mouth is. Being a majority owner of an NBA team, the only black majority owner, and now owning a racing team. Who the hell knew Jordan liked watching racing? But apparently he does. You know what I mean? And he's talking about it. And it kind of reminds me, Jordan is a Southern boy. He is a Southern kid. Or man now at this point. So yeah, why wouldn't he like racing? And he likes fast cars. I'm sure he has a few of them. So hey, big ups. I'll take it, Jordan. I am a fan. You have me on board with you as a human. Okay, you as a player, you can still kiss my ass. You can still beat all my guys, but as a human, yo man, I'm right there. And I've actually even been eyeballing Jordans. I never wear Jordan shoes unless they're given to me because you know what? I don't support Nike and I don't support Jordan. All right, so people who've known me for all my life, basically, they knew. I think it was from like the age of 15. I was like, you know what? Never buying another pair of Nikes again, and I haven't. So I might have to get me some Jordans because you know what? I want some of that money to go back to the communities that he's putting it into because he's putting the money where the mouth is. And I'm becoming a fan, man. I don't know. I don't even know what to think about myself.
Well, welcome to the dark side. As we speak, the NBA finals are taking place right now. The MLB is in their division series. The
division championship. Like conference championship series, right?
Divisional series. Well, no, it's the AL division series and then the NL division series.
Oh, it's not the CS yet?
No, it's still the division series where we're at right now. I mean, by the time this comes out, it'll probably be the conference series because they're going straight through, basically no days off unless you win early. But you asked the question of if it mattered because there's no fans. And
does this championship count? For baseball, it's not going to count. I don't count that shit. For basketball, for me, I think it does because they had almost a full season. We had a few things going in, and then I feel like it came out pretty good, and I'm happy with the championship. If the Lakers win it, of course, I would count it for anyone else, but I think it's going to count. But you have some pretty strong comments on why it doesn't, which you kind of convinced me a little bit, but I'm not sure yet.
I say it doesn't count. Not that it does. Obviously, they're going to count it. Whoever gets the championship in all these leagues, they're going to count it. Hockey, they got their championship. Baseball's going to have theirs. Basketball's going to have theirs. And I'm not saying it doesn't count. I'm definitely saying there should be an asterisk, and it shouldn't be. It's not the same game.
Yeah.
It's easily not the same game because if you remember the Malice in the Palace, one of the most infamous moments in basketball history.
Meta World Peace after the crushing Ron Artest.
It's when Ronald Artest started punching fans in the face. Now, if there's no fans there, that doesn't happen. I feel like fans make up 80% of the game. I know there are people who disagree with me who are like, well, these guys should just play for the – I say 80%. There are people who disagree with me. Yeah, they're like, oh, here's why. They're like, oh, listen, these guys are professional. They should be able to play in a dark gym, in a hallway, in a garage with nobody around, but just one camera. That's right. Then who's the camera? It's for the fucking fans to watch it. If you've ever been to a live sporting event, you know that fans alter games, period, in any game. This year we had the Marlins and the Cubs meet in the wild card series. The last time the Marlins and the Cubs met in the playoffs, the whole thing was changed by a fan. One fan with headphones on caught the goddamn ball, changed everything. It was the most talked about thing in the country.
There's a documentary on it.
There's a fucking document. There's multiple documentaries on it because a fan at a game changed the game. Yeah. Fans alter games. There's tons of players who play better when the crowd is there, who play. If you could be tired, remember the flu game. Michael Jordan has the flu. This dude is like dying on the fucking court. Between his team and the fans he knew were watching in the city, he didn't want to let anybody down, so he played his ass off. If that game takes place with no cameras and no fans around, does he play the same? Absolutely not. Because then who the fuck is he playing for? The stats and the record? Nobody cares about that. You do it for the fans. When Scottie Pippen's carrying him off the court, even the fans of the other team are cheering like, yo, man, I'm not mad at that. The dude's playing his ass off with the flu. Yeah. You think Kobe Bryant scores 81 points without fans there? No, he doesn't. You need that motivation. When you're in the outfield and you see all these home runs getting hit, I've watched a lot of home runs get fucking caught at the wall that either may not be caught or are distracted because there's fans there. Fans alter everything. So
I need my Thundersticks.
The Thundersticks are loud. And you know what? Remember the World Cup when they first brought out the fucking vuvuzelas?
Oh, gosh. Remember I watched every game on mute.
Yeah. You altered the way you watched, which means it definitely altered the way the players were playing.
Yeah.
That's fans. It's so much easier to play something when there's nobody around to judge you, to call you a piece of shit, to clap the Thundersticks, to fuck up your free throws, to throw off whether you catch this ball or not, to yell shit when you're trying to hit the ball. It makes the sport so much easier that I think it's not insignificant, but it's definitely altered dramatically. So I think every championship in 2020 should get an asterisk because there were no fans to distract you. There were no fans to motivate you. There were no fans. And it sucks. I mean, if the Lakers win the whole thing, which by the time we're done with this, they probably will. And I didn't mind, like I said, I don't mind the Lakers or the Heat winning because they both have enough championships that they kind of don't need fans there for this to matter. But if you had somebody like the Clippers win it, if you had somebody in baseball like the Marlins win it, it sucks because they get this first championship and they can celebrate with no one. You can't have the fucking parade. You can't have the fans to celebrate this and bum rush the court. These college games are altered. People aren't bum rushing the field. You can't have that moment with the fans, so it's not the same game by any means. Fight.
You know, you just I got no comments for it because you make a really good argument. But it just made me think about it. You said no parade. When we think about it right now, KC had their parade and the coronavirus was here. We're definitely not having it again.
Yeah. That changes everything. It changes everything. You want to share it with the fans. Speaking of, I mean, we'll do the Mike Tyson thing first. The Mike Tyson thing you told me was pretty dope. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, cool thing. Mike Tyson, for the first time in his life, is voting in the presidential election, in the primary presidential election, whatever, general election they call it, right? So he thought he couldn't vote because of his rape conviction against from Robin Givens, the Robin Givens rape verdict, guilty verdict he got. So, But apparently where he's at, he was able to reinstate his voting rights, and he's going to vote for the very first time. I believe he's, 51, something like that, which is kind of crazy when as we get older, their age range doesn't seem as big as when we were younger. So I was like, wait,
Right.
he's actually not that much older.
Yeah,
Exactly. So, so that's pretty dope because there's tons of rules and laws and regulations out there that don't allow a lot of felons to vote. I have some people in my family who think they can't vote because they have felonies, and I'm not sure about where they live, if they've had some new ways to be able to go through that, because some people make you pay, some places make you pay fines and all this to be able to do it. Some places make it very difficult. Some places make it a little easier. I just think it's dope that he's going to get out there and vote. I try to tell people this: I don't care who you vote for, but it's your right to do it. So go out and exercise it. I may disagree with it, but you're exercising your right, and not everyone had that right forever. So the fact that he's doing it is super dope. I've only missed, since I'm turned 18, one presidential election, and I felt bad. I still to this day felt bad about it. It went the way I hoped, so we got the president that we wanted, because it seems like almost every other time I vote, we don't get the president we want. So I kind of feel bad about that, but it's just important, man. Just 60 years ago, black people didn't even have the right to do it. So the fact that this man is now going to do it, I think it's super dope, man. I just think it's a great thing.
I think it's dope that in certain places felons are allowed to vote because they still live here and they're still citizens.
Exactly. And some of the legislation, exactly, and some of the legislation affects them in these prisons. These people don't understand. These prisons, they're slave grounds. All right, they're manufacturing grounds that are privately run for a lot of them, so they're for profit. So, you profit on these people. Let them vote now. You know what I mean? You give them back their rights. Depending. If you're a double murderer, you don't get shit. Straight up.
Yeah, no. But especially like the felons who are, they served their time. They're out in the community. They is reassimilated in the community. They should be allowed that right to vote again.
Exactly.
To get in something real quick, you wanted to tell the people, you wanted to direct the people somewhere.
So you started some shit. You started the shitstorm with the Cobra Kai is trash. So even people who maybe didn't listen to the whole podcast saw that clip, and they have responded in force. So let me stop laughing for a second, okay? My challenge is to the people. We want messages sent to Shaun Q through Anchor, some voice messages that we can maybe play in the next podcast, whether you are praising him for his trash talk against Cobra Kai or absolutely think he's absolutely wrong. We don't really have, the space to get you on the show. Maybe that'll come down the line. But anyone who wants to respond, go through Anchor, send us a voicemail, and we could possibly put it on the next podcast and respond. I think that would be super dope because, you started some shit with that one. And I still have not watched it. Partially because it's now horror movie month, and I am ingrained in the horror movies. So anyway,
I stand by my statement. Cobra Kai is still trash. Now, if you watched the episode, you saw that I said, yes, it's trash, but we all need a little trash in our lives. I know it's trash. You people who have watched it, you know it's trash. In fact, I'm going to throw an idea to the good folks at Netflix, and all I want from it is a creative consultant credit. That's it. That's all I want. This is what I offer to you. Netflix, the people who made Cobra Kai. I would like to get a lot of black people on board with our trash to continue our trash so we can have that. So if I can have Kenya Barris, the people who helped produce Cobra Kai, get together and do a Last Dragon series, that'd be dope. That way, our trash can become your trash. Just like your trash can become our trash, we can share the trash. You're welcome, Netflix. I want a music involved. You can have Motown in it. You can talk to Berry Gordy's people. You can get whoever you want. I want a Last Dragon series on Netflix so we can all have old school karate trash on Netflix. You're welcome.
I'm a little mad at you for that. You should have left that for us. We should have proposed that to Berry Gordy himself or whatever.
You're welcome, universe. We just want creative consultant credits. That's it. Maybe a little.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yes.
And they can make Bruce Leroy the teacher.
Dude,
just like Cobra Kai.
Up that glow, you feel the one. Imagine old ass Shaun Q. And if you
remember my hair? My hair was similar. I could do like this.
Listen, if for some reason you can't get Shaun Q, I don't know what the actor who plays Shaun Q is doing, then let Dion Cole do it. Gray his hair up a little bit. Let's get Dion Cole as Shaun Q. You're welcome, Netflix. I'm handing you fucking gold right now.
You are. Yo, I bring it. I want that. Put that in the universe. That's in the universe now. Give me
It's
that.
out there. It's out there. All right, let's get into our what the shit.
Yes.
Our what the shit is the biggest thing that's happened in the country since the last time we recorded, and it was that debate, though.
Yeah.
That presidential debate.
Is that what that was called?
It was called the presidential debacle.
So, oh my gosh,
You watched
I can't
you watched
remember.
three old white men embarrass our country.
So, I can't remember the last time I saw a shit show that bad. It was so bad that my Republican colleagues, conservative colleagues that I work with, who know I'm independent, or maybe they think I'm Democrat, whatever. They just know I'm not for Trump. And I'm going to always make this clear. I don't care if you're Republican, but if you're a Trump supporting Republican, we're going to have beef. So he comes in, one of them comes in, he's like, did you watch it? I'm like, oh yeah. And it went exactly like I thought. And then I heard someone else say that their son, and maybe this was on TV or something like that, somebody's son like was bawling or daughter was bawling. It was so bad because they were so just like distraught at how terrible it was all going. And I'm not sure if they were Biden supporter or Trump supporter, whatever. This is different stories. He said that him and his sons, he's like, this is awful. And his sons were like, yeah, Dad, what's happening? Like, we don't even understand what's going on because there was nothing clear going on. And it just kind of shows just how out of control everything is. You know, I do appreciate Biden kept his cool because, Trump's trying to disrespect his family. He's trying to disrespect his wife, his kid, and, of course, vets and all that stuff. And all I can think is, who would win in a fight? And I really think Joe, coming from a small town, I think he'd whip Trump's ass. But Trump is huge. The man's like 6'7" or some shit like that. And, like, way overweight, so like, 300 pounds or whatever. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but I think Joe Biden might whip his ass, although he's kind of skinny. So it's like, all I kept wanting was just, I wanted Joe Biden to be like, you want to take us outside? Because let's do this.
I know for a fact Joe would call it fisticuffs. You want to engage in the old fisticuffs? I've watched enough WWE to know that Donald Trump can't throw a punch, so I think Biden would win that fight too.
Good point.
I will say this. I will take the positive. I'm gonna do like Joe Biden, and take the high road on this.
Okay.
There are two positives that came from this. One being, if you are a debate teacher or a debate coach in a high school, middle school, elementary, college, professor, whatever, and you are teaching debate, you can use that video as a what not to fucking do.
True.
Here's how you don't debate.
Yeah.
This is the opposite of the movie The Great Debaters. This was trash.
Yeah.
This is a no-no. We need proof of, well, teacher, what does a bad debate look like? I'm glad you asked, Calvin. Watch these presidential candidates. That's a positive. You can use that by all means. Another positive that came from this was SNL made their first return in front of a live audience for the first time since COVID hit, and they brought out the big guns, and they opened the show with a remake of this shit debate brought to you by Barnum and Bailey. Circus debate. And they brought out Mr. Jim fucking Carrey himself, and his impersonation of Joe Biden was OP.
Yes.
Down to the gangly fucking teeth. Fucking Jim Carrey.
So he was so good. Yeah.
It was so good. If you haven't seen that clip, you have to go watch that. To see Jim Carrey do Joe Biden is so great versus Alec Baldwin, and then you got Maya Rudolph playing Kamala Harris. It was so good, just so good. Such a good shit show remake of a shit show fucking.
So shout out to SNL because the audience was first responders. Yeah, so they all got to be there and all that.
Yeah, Chris was the host, which was dope. Said some real shit in his.
I saw, absolutely. And when Jim Carrey was Joe Biden, I had a smile on my face, cheesing ear to ear the whole time because it reminds me of classic Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is simply at his best on sketch comedy, man. He's in Living Color, SNL, whatever it is. He's at his best at that point. Movies, he's great. Yeah, of course, we all know that. But his thing is sketch comedy, and he brought the goods that day, and it was so perfect. And when I saw, I was like, wow. Looks a little bit like him, of course. They do the makeup, not as much. But the way he spoke, couldn't stop dying. Just the way he kept forgetting. because that was, Biden's MO. But Biden did better than that. Biden did better than Jim Carrey portrayed him.
Yeah,
but
they both
Jim
went
Carrey
over.
was just he was perfect. He was so good. It was so good to see him back in that kind of thing that I was like, damn, I need more of that in my life. I need more of that kind of Jim Carrey, that just like quick-witted, impersonating. It reminded me of Fire Marshal Bill, where he's like, let me show you something, It's like it was so perfect, and I want more of that, you know what I mean? And it was great. It was just great. I need to watch the whole thing, so I need to see how much more he's in it, and Chris Rock and all that. And again, they shout out to them for having the first responders as the first audience. I was surprised New York even let them do it at all. I guess they had to be in their bubble for a couple weeks.
Probably, but they killed it. Jim Carrey, the minute he hit the stage and the crowd lost their minds, you see him full on Joe Biden, pew, 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 with the fucking teeth and
that was
sunglasses.
perfect.
Yo, he came out when he was like, keep it cool, Joe. Don't let him get under your skin. Jim Carrey, to see, it's funny when you, like you said, you said it, you hit it right on the head. When you see a legend return to their element where that made them famous, it's such a beautiful thing to see. You're like, oh, that's right. For y'all who don't know, for you young cats who never saw it in living color, this was Jim Carrey. This is what got him Ace Ventura, what got him The Mask, what got him all these movies. Before he started doing serious acting, he was a sketch comedy genius. I put him in a class that I put Robin Williams with, in that they started on a sketch show that was dominated by Black people, and they held their own. And it's just, it was beautiful, just fucking hilarious. It's
if he ever writes, I'm sorry, finish.
It's like when you'll have to go back and look at this. There's an episode of Whose Line Is It Anyway? And they had Robin Williams on, and they go, oh my God, that's right, we forget Robin Williams is a sketch comedy genius. This show was built off people like him. It makes sense. So I loved it. It was nostalgic. It was perfect. A great return for SNL. Mad props to them.
So, finishing with that up, if Jim Carrey was to do a biography, and he just talked about maybe his first 10 years in the industry, I would get that, because I want to hear how he interacted on the set of In Living Color, because he was the only white boy on there, and it's just amazing what he did. I mean, he has us rolling. So besides that, though, you brought up Kamala Harris by Maya Rudolph. Now, the vice president debate was tonight. We saw part of it, but I want you to just kind of say what the producer Veltria said about it, because there's a whole lot to get into, because she's a badass, man. I'm not sure if I support the fact that she is a super cop. And she was that attorney general or whatever, she was DA, whatever. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But while she's been in the Senate, she has done quite a few good things. So speak on it. So what our producers say?
Real quick before we leave, we asked her. She said, mention the vice presidential debate. We're gonna get into that next episode. But I asked her. I said, can you sum it up for me real quick? She goes, Kamala Harris just kept answering the questions with truth and distinction and dignity, and she came with that, don't try me with that bullshitness. That is a direct quote from our producer, Valtria. So I will actually go and watch that. I'm going to watch the clip notes of it, or I'll probably watch the whole thing before the next time we record. We are going to get up out of here. We've been harassing you for a long time. We had a lot to get into. Thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate that. Go to the Anchor page. If you go to our Instagram, you go to our Facebook, you go to our Twitter, there's a link. If you listen to our podcast, everywhere on there links back to the Anchor FM page. Go to the page. If you want to send me a voicemail, bring that shit. I'm ready. Put it out there. We will play it on the podcast, the next one, and I'll respond to it. All right?
Yep.
If you want to keep tweeting me, keep tweeting. I'm ready with that shit. You want to keep hitting the OSP page up on Old School Perspective on Instagram? Come with that shit too. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like I said, Last Dragon, you're welcome. Till next time, I'm Shaun Q. Be smart.
Jay Roman, we out.
Keep it old school.